So let me ask you, are you being persecuted? Not for like what NFL team you cheer for or anything like that, but are you being persecuted for the sake of Christ? Maybe since you became a Christian, the crowd you used to run with, you can't run with anymore. You still love those people, but you know if you hang out with them, you're going to be tempted to do stuff that you know Christ doesn't want you to do. And they give you a little static for it. That's a mild form of persecution. Maybe family misunderstands why you don't do certain things with them that you used to do since you've become a Christian. And you're misunderstood for the sake of Christ. That is a form of persecution for sure. But being mistreated and misunderstood for the gospel is one level, but being persecuted to death, most of us in this room, unless God calls you to go to a country where persecution is so severe that you could lose your life, most of us will not face that level of persecution. Definitely not in the United States of America in the year 2024. I wanted to pull up a quick map. Voice of the Martyrs has some really good resources. We play a little Voice of the Martyrs minute on our radio station, 88.1 FM. They have a free magazine you can send away for. You can go on their website and sign up, and you'll get a magazine that talks all about persecuted Christians, gives you prayer guides, maps like this. This is an interactive map from their website, but this is from our hemisphere, right? These are, if it's not a light tan country, it means that it's hard to be a Christian in that country. Now, some parts of some countries are easier, like the Philippines. Much of the Philippines, you can be a Christian, but in southern Philippines, it's dangerous, from what I've read. Some of these countries, you literally are taking your life into your hands if you're a Christian there. North Korea, for example, I think I have a slide on North Korea. Just a little bit. I won't read all of it, but basically, there are Christians being sent to prison camps in North Korea. Doesn't even sound like the year 2024, right? That Christians would be sent to prison camps and labor camps. They estimate maybe 30,000 Christians are suffering in prison and labor camps in North Korea. But you know what? We're not 100% sure because there's no way to communicate with anyone inside the country. Only people that have successfully survived leaving the country, escaping and brought out stories. And so we have anecdotes. Even owning a Bible, even partial part of the Bible, is risking your life in North Korea. We participated with Trans World Radio a few years ago where we helped raise money to smuggle in transistor radios, shortwave radios that were already pre-tuned to the station that transmits from right here in Guam, down in Maritso. They transmit the gospel into all these other countries, shortwave from Guam, and North Korea is one of them. And they were smuggling in these radios at great risk that are already pre-tuned, and they also had like scripture already built into a little memory card on the little device. And North Korea, place where you can be persecuted to death. But most of us aren't going to face that, right? Paul says that he knew his persecution was going to lead to his death, and he was. By church history, we know he was executed. But you're not being persecuted like that right now. But what Paul says in this passage still has relevance to you today. The same principles still do apply even if you're not being persecuted to death. Sometimes our hardships in our life are directly related to our stand for Christ. But some of the hardships in our life are just because we live in a fallen world. We're in the midst of trials and difficulties for a lot of reasons, not just because we're Christians. But the real question is, are we growing and maturing to be more like Christ in the midst of those hardships? And I think that's where this passage relates to us, even if we're not in the midst of persecution. And Paul says there in that first verse 16, our bodies are declining, but our souls are maturing. Can you say that about where you're at right now? Your body's declining. Hey, we're all winding down. But no matter what the circumstances are we maturing to be more like Christ? Are our souls maturing? That's one of the strengths of what Paul is talking about here. Verse 17, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Light, momentary affliction. It's light. It's like a feather. It's almost weightless. It's like a piece of paper. It's like a leaf. That's what our current pressures and afflictions are like. They're hard, and at the time it feels like a lot. But compared to what's awaiting us after this life, it's very light. It's momentary. When you're in the midst of a hard thing, it feels like it just goes on forever and ever. But Paul says that really our afflictions that we're going through, they last for just a moment. They go by so quick compared to eternity. Our light, momentary, and then our affliction. Hey, we go through some really hard things, physical things, relationship things, spiritual things, emotional things, financial, medical. Seems like we all go through these things. But these afflictions really, Paul's saying, they're just weightless, short-lived pressures that are going to go by so quick. And he says that because compared to what's coming, heavy, eternal glory. So you can't even compare the weight of what we're currently going through to the weight of what we have to look forward to. And what we're going through that's taken just a moment is nothing compared to the eternity that we have to look forward to in heaven. And then the pressure and pain we're going through now compared to glory, there's almost no comparison at all. They're so different. You know, my life, maybe you can relate to this, as I'm getting older, my life is a strange mix of the things I really enjoy go by way too quick, and the things I really don't enjoy seem to take forever. Maybe that's everybody. But here's the illustration. Last week, 3-day weekend went by like that. Came to work on Tuesday. Took forever to get through that day. So how did 72 hours go by quicker than 8? I don't know. Paul knows. It was a snap. But Paul says we need to reset our perspective. The here and now. It's already over. Eternity's coming. The pain of now. It's over. But the relief and healing we'll have with God in heaven is on the way. It's just right around the corner, right? Just going to pass like that. Life goes by so quick. Eternity's coming. Paul says it's just a light affliction. It's just for a moment. But there's a more exceeding, there's this awesome eternal glory coming. And basically he's saying our current situation is temporary, but our eternal destination will be glorious. Your current situation, it is real, but it's temporary. But our eternal destination is going to be glorious.